Hello, my name is Olga Anderson, and I was able to observe a student in the autism spectrum in the dual language setting. Dual language meaning he was learning English and Spanish. In this school, he was in a group of a very diverse population, 40% to 50%, depending on the grade level, were the students from Central America and various parts like Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Mexico. They also had students from the United States. They were the other 35 of percent in the population. Very diverse school, very diverse district, both socially, economic, and culturally. Um, he's a student who is biracial, and mom is from Algeria, from Africa, and his father is from the United States, which he also comes from a home that our parents are divorced, and he spends equal amount of time. They have a share custody, equal share custody. So he spends 1 week with one parent, 1 week with another parent, and they were very well coordinated. I was able to observe him in the math part of his day. The specialist that services him in math also serviced him in reading. His para, who's a one-on-one para, followed him all through the day. Um, Out of all my observations, I was able to observe him only one day when the students are now coming back part time to back into um, the school, and the parents opted out to bring him in at least 2 days out of the week. They did agree to that, but most of my observations were done in via Zoom, COVID, during the math portion of the day, where the specialist would come in towards the last 30 minutes of his math time and work with him on his goals. His para stayed with him and with the specialist as well. And I observed that George had many accommodations. George had technology accommodations to help him with his writing part because he struggled with small muscle atrophy where he needed help with writing. Therefore, in his IEP, he had the technology incorporation to help him. He was able to type his responses, his homework. He was able to type and send either his teacher the document, or he was able to print and take pictures of the document he typed. Most of his work that he did turn in was typed. Very um, few of his work that I observed was in any written form due to his accommodations. As I observed him in math, I was very, very inspired. I was inspired because I am amazed that a child with autism spectrum was able to handle being in a dual language setting with its exceptionalities and then learning a language component into math and science uh, and writing and language as part of his day. Um, I did find out that he, at the beginning, he was a little higher. The parents were like, okay, we're going to try it because we want our child to be able to have the opportunity. And he has thrived. He has thrived because of the accommodations that the school has provided, the support of the parents, the teachers, with the children welcomed him in his Zoom group. They knew him. They helped in every which way. Sometimes even in his little disengagements, because he, as an autism spectrum student, he needed disengagement sometimes because of the overload that he received. He encountered. And in one math class that I observed, they were studying shapes and they were doing a scavenger hunt. And they were supposed to go do a scavenger hunt. And he did. He participated. He went and grabbed some of the 3D shapes that were around his home. And then all of a sudden, when he was done, he's like, okay, then now I'm going to talk about fire trucks because he was a fire truck expert, I found out. anytime he was done with whatever subject he was dealing with at the time in math or the activity, he would give you information on the EMS truck and the fire truck and the components of the truck. He was an expert at emergency vehicles, and that was his cue that to his teacher, his peers, and his para that at the time he needed a brain break. So even though he didn't verbalize it, he verbalized directly, I need a brain break, like most students do, will let a teacher know or a peer that he would, this is how he communicated. I need a brain break. I'm talking now about the stuff I really like to talk about because I'm done. Um, I was amazed that he did the same things during COVID and Zoom that all the other students. He played my camera's not working. It turned off. Well, I don't know what happened. The teachers would call the parents or text them, hey, can you please get him back? And they would get him back on track. And his parents were very engaged and very supportive. And he was like, oops. And he would come like all innocent to the class. Oops, I don't know what happened. But we knew that he turned off the camera. And it's amazing because all the other kids did the same thing when they were, oops, sorry, I turned off the camera or they goofed around. But he was also used his reactions when he was really engaged, raised his hand up. Sometimes he did it on screen, but he was very engaged when he liked the subject and when he wasn't tired. I mean, can't imagine the academic overload of learning a second language. Well, I can, but I'm saying with a student in this autism spectrum. Um, I I was at odd. I was at odd. How is this student, other than I know that teachers are providing a safe, accommodating environment, um, and he's thriving. He's thriving. He was speaking Spanish. He the very few writings I observed, he had some Spanish words here and there when he typed them, but most of his writing was in English and a word here and there, which is, from what I understand from the teachers, was a loss for some of the kids that were learning the Spanish was their single language. They were losing some of their written skills because they weren't in school with the peers that they needed as good Spanish modeling. They were with the teacher and just the platform that we have, which it enhanced the auditorial skills, but the writing skills were a little more uh, weak during COVID. But he was able to engage. He had brain breaks and movement breaks. He was able to pick a peer when he needed one. He never did any of these by himself. He was able to pick one of his friends that was in his small group at the time. He was able to pick one to do the brain break with when he needed, and they alternate who was in the brain break from his group. And as a reward, they did. He would get to choose other peers that were not exactly in his small group setting, because that's when I observed him with his the special ed teacher and his one-on-one para. It is just mind-boggling that this child with exceptionalities was able to handle this setting. Just other children that don't have exceptionalities, it's a struggle. And he was thriving. He was able to handle this from kindergarten up. Um, but it was amazing to watch his peers um, being helpful, being open. It was amazing to watch how accommodations worked in the classroom, especially in a dual language setting, and they were able to work. Um, the support that this child got. He had a one-on-one buddy that he could go to make sure that I was able to observe an afternoon. The second day that they're there, they were to have a small recess after the end of the day when it's their independent asynchronized time. And he had a buddy. Sometimes he picked sometimes it was assigned to him, so he learned. Different students were able to engage with him during recess, and and it was amazing. He knew what to do. He knew who his buddy was, and he would go and he would engage, and he would walk around. Sometimes, if he wasn't too sure, he would walk around outside and kind of took a step back, and then when he felt comfortable, he engaged in play at recess, which was almost the same thing in the academic setting of math, that he would disengage. Most of the time with me from the sensory overload he had. But it was mind-blowing. Mind-blowing that a student was exceptional, they can be in a program and thrived. I mean, mind-blowing, but it's so inspiring and breathtaking that there that this should be a goal for every school, regardless of their specialty. And as I talked to his teachers, that was a goal. That was a goal of the school, trying to engage more students with exceptionalities to be, because a dual language setting is good for any student, regardless of their exceptionalities, whether is learning or emotional or delay or they're talented and gifted. They're trying to work on that part of their community outreach to get that part of the community um, there. And I wish I had more time instead of the COVID, maybe, to be able to observe this. But it was mind blowing and inspiring. Thank you.